What's up, guys? Welcome to the DoItMovement podcast. This is your host, Martine Jackson, and I've built my 6-figure, soon-to-be 7-figure, massive real estate business through commercial investing, rental investing, and wholesaling in Virginia. After college, I worked a series of jobs that I absolutely hated and decided to take life into my own hands. What my journey has shown me is one very important thing. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Each week, I bring you a powerful guest or tip to unravel the real estate game, and my challenge to you is that you take some of that knowledge and do something with it. The Do It Movement is here to help you create the life you desire through real estate. Now let's get to it. Hello today, Do It Movement listeners. This is your host, Martine Jackson. Today, we're going to talk about raising private capital. So I know a lot of people, you get into real estate or you want to get into real estate and you're like, well, I really don't have the capital to be buying hundreds of thousands of dollars of houses. So I think this topic will be especially helpful for you. And it will be really helpful for the people that already know how to analyze deals, and such as people that wholesale. You already know how to analyze a deal, but you just need that private funding so you can keep some of those deals. So let's talk about it. Alrighty, so it's some different types of capital in real estate if you're looking to acquire and keep properties, or if you want to acquire and then sell it, whatever you want to do. But basically, first let's talk about the difference between hard money, private money, and then a bank loan. Okay, so hard money is more of the things that, you'll get it from, most of the time it'll be from like a company. They'll be like a hard money lender. And basically their rates are usually a little bit more, they're a little higher. You don't really need to develop a relationship with them as much. It's nice to always develop relationships with people, but it's more of you're borrowing from a company. The rate is typically higher than what a bank will charge you. And typically they look at the asset. Like some hard money lenders, they'll look at your credit and stuff like that. But for the most part, from what I see, they look at the asset. They see if it's a good deal. They look at your experience to see if you can carry out the project, and things of that nature. And typically it's kind of fast. It doesn't take, if you're doing single family, you can close like within the time frames that you set out for yourself for, the time frames that you set out for yourself, like when you say 2 week or, a month closing or things like that. Usually you can do that with hard money. Now, private money is more so of you developing relationships with people and you're using their money. So it could be, money from their retirement accounts, which is my favorite. It could be, maybe they got a line of credit that they use. Maybe they just have a lot of money stashed in their bank accounts or what have you. But you're using their money to invest in real estate to give them a great return. Bank money, and which I think a lot of everybody knows, typically if you're getting an investment property from the bank, they're going to give you maybe 75 to 80% of what the house is worth, and then they want you to put some money down. So, and then those things they look extensively at your background. They want to make sure that you're making enough income. If this investment doesn't produce, they limit you on the amount of loans that you can have. When it's just, if you're just using your personal name, I believe it's like 10 loans you can get and things like that. And also they usually take a little bit longer. Like they typically want things like an appraisal and just a little bit more stringent. Now, when you're looking at the scheme of things right now in 2020, the bank is probably going to give you the lowest rate, like hands down. The bank is probably going to give you the lowest rate. But in exchange for getting that low rate, you have to go through a process. They have to vet you. They have to make sure that you are a good person to lend money to. So I think we all know what bank financing is, but I just wanted to touch more on hard money and private money. Typically, the rates that you would be paying on a hard money loan and private money loan is going to be more than what the bank is charging you. So you might be thinking, why would I use hard money or private money rather than using the bank if the bank is going to charge me less interest? And that's a great question. The reason is it's because it allows you to move fast. Typically, if you're in real estate investing, you need to move quickly to get the best deals. The slower you move, you're going to be getting a retail rate. And what you're looking for, how you make money, is when you buy. You need to buy it for as low as possible. So ways to get you to buy things as low as possible is for you to, be able to move fast. You can just, wire the money to your closing attorney once they do the title search, and then boom, you can close. You don't have to go through all these extra layers when you're using hard money and private money. So that's why people use them. Now, with hard money and private money and bank financing, you should develop relationships, but bank and hard money is more of institution. So think this is like a capital group, or this is a business that they lend money, because those are typically the hard money lenders, right? And private money is more so of two people where, you just come up with an agreement, and the agreement states whatever you guys decide on. So it's it's pretty lax, pretty chill, as long as, the person that's lending you the money, they know that you know what you're doing, and you show them the details of the deal and everything like that, then it's pretty much a done deal, you can say. Let's put it like that. But what we're going to focus on, now that we got that out of the way, what we're going to focus on is talking about private money. Because I feel like the access of money is going to be able to get you to a point that you probably would have been able to get to before. So let's talk about that a little bit more. I remember when I first started taking real estate seriously, I was, this was back about 5.5 years ago. And when I first started saying, you know what, I'm really going to start taking this seriously, my dad had told me about maybe you should get into real estate, but I never really went for it. I just, maybe read a little bit. I thought, well, maybe you need a lot of money to get into real estate. So when I was ready, I was presented with a book, and the book was How to Quit Your Job in 19 Weeks, and it's by Sean Terry. If you listen to this podcast faithfully, you've probably heard me talk about it before. But anyway, so this book pretty much talked about wholesaling, and it talked about how you can get something under contract, and then you could sell the contract for high, pretty much you get something under contract, just to make it easy numbers, you get it for 30, and then you sell it to somebody for 40, and then they end up closing on it, and you didn't have to really use any of your money to actually close on this transaction. So when I read that, I was like, wait a second, you could sell contracts? That's crazy. So, I want to prove that it works. So I went out and started doing it. But just think, if you get into this and you start and you're already wholesaling, let's say you're listening to this and you wholesale, that's what you do. And you're like, man, I need some private capital, because you can use your money from wholesaling to buy properties. Yes. But you'd be able to get more properties under contract. You'd be able to acquire more properties if you're able to leverage other people's money. Because eventually you're going to run out of money. You can keep wholesale, but it's going to stunt your growth, because you have to wait to close on a wholesale deal before you can buy another property. And then all your money is tied up into wholesale deals. Whereas you could keep your wholesale money as your reserves, and you can use other people's money to buy the properties. Have your reserves, rent them out, or whatever you want to do, fix them up, whatever your exit strategy is, right? And then you can either sell it, you can refi with the bank, whatever you want to do is your exit strategy, right? But to acquire the properties, private money is it's just really good. It really helps you tremendously. But what I want to talk about is, how do you get that private money? Because people are like, well, I've heard of private money, but where are people getting money from? Who do I know that has a couple of $100,000 just sitting away somewhere? don't fret. I was in your court. Like I was there when I was like, man, I don't really, I don't know anybody that has a couple $100,000 just sitting around. So basically what you have to do is you have to educate people on what they can do or what do they have access to, because some people don't even know they have access to things. For instance, if you listen to this podcast enough, you've probably heard me say this more than one time, but almost everybody in America has a retirement account. Almost everybody, right? And one thing that you can educate them on is that they could roll over maybe an IRA into a self-directed IRA where they can direct the investments. And them directing the investments, meaning that they can direct the investment to one of your real estate transactions. And when you really explain it to them, you're pretty much opening their eyes, because they may not have been aware that they could do something like this. But let's take it a step further, because you can go around and you can educate people all you want and, hey, this is how you can invest money with me, but that doesn't mean they're going to invest with you. The key to making sure that you can access and have private funds is developing relationships with people. Listen again, it's developing relationships with people. So by saying that, I mean, don't just go to people when you need money. Keep them in the loop of what you're doing. Like, one thing that has worked really, really well for me is I always like to keep people in the loop of what I'm doing. So I'll say, hey, I'm working on this deal. Here are the numbers. This is what it looks like. If someone were to invest with me, then this is what their return would look like. These types of things. But it has to be more on a one-on-one level. You have to get yourself to places where pretty much a person knows that you know what you're doing. Because if someone's trusting their retirement income with you in a real estate deal and you just crash, I mean, they do have the security of the real estate, but if they aren't in real estate, they're probably like, oh man, like, I don't want to swing a hammer. I don't want to fix up this place. I just wanted to make a good return on my money. So what your job is for you to show them through other deals that you're doing, even if you're wholesaling deals. You can get a deal under contract. You can show them that, look, I estimated that the repairs were going to be this. I estimated that the house was going to be worth this after this. And then, like, if you wholesale something to someone, then you can, if you have a good relationship with your buyers, of course, you can follow the buyer along the way. Like, you can say, hey, look, I did my research. I think that your repairs are going to be this. Do you agree with that? Then they'll look at it. They'll either agree or disagree. And then you can keep checking in on the project. So then when they get to the point where they're going to sell it, or they're going to, keep it as a rental, or whatever they're going to do with the house, right? You can see if your numbers match theirs. So you can say, hey, this is what I predicted. This is what it was. And I've just noticed this trend over time that I've been really good with estimating the repairs. This is my all-in number and all of this stuff. So basically, what you're doing is you're sharing with people what you're doing. No, you may not have done the work. No, you may not have kept the property. But what you are doing is you're showing that, look, I found this good deal. I estimated that it was going to cost this amount of money to do this. And then I sold it to such and such, and they gave me their numbers back, and this is what they did. So pretty much what you're doing is you are creating a track record for yourself. You're showing people that, hey, this person really knows what they're doing. You're getting the word out. Like, look, I'm in real estate. I'm working on this. I'm working on this. And then by doing that and continuously developing relationships with people, then you're able to put yourself in a position where you'd have multiple people, that would be able to fund a deal that you can, that you can use to close on different transactions. So I want to talk about what I mean by networking. I don't mean going up to people and saying, hey, my name's Martine. I invest in real estate. what do you do? Like making it really vague. That's not what I mean. What I mean is you're networking with people with an intention to let them know what you're doing because you want to show them that you do know what you're doing, that you are a credible source, that they can come to you if they want to make a good return on their money. So I'm going to give you some examples. For instance, I host a real estate networking event every month. Every month, faithfully, once a month, I host a networking event in Richmond, Virginia. And the purpose of the event is for me to develop relationships with people. We want to add value, of course, and teach people things. But to be honest, you can learn all of this stuff on the internet. You can learn it by listening to podcasts. But by you watching the podcast or by you listening to the podcast, you're not developing a relationship with me in particular. Like, you're just listening to how you can do things, which that is great. That's a good foundation. But you have to get out there and you have to be intentional about setting relationships with people to show them that you are capable of what you said that you're capable of doing. So anyway, going back to the networking meetup, that event forces me to network at minimum once a month, like at minimum. I do it more than that, but that focuses me to network with people. So basically, you go to these events, you share with people what they're doing, you ask them what are they doing in their businesses, and then once you get their contact information, follow up with people, take them out to lunch, ask them. One thing that has really worked very well for me is meeting people one-on-one and not coming with an attitude of, I'm here to get something from you. If you come to these folks and you talk to people and you genuinely care about what they have going on, you share about some things that you're doing. I mean, you can be fancy. You could have even like a little, slideshow that says, hey, this is what I've been working on. I just wanted to share it with you just so you could see what I was doing. What I've noticed is that when you talk to people, you genuinely care, you're sharing what you're talking about, and then you ask, how can I add some value to you? Like, you don't come and say, hey, let me pick your brain. let me get everything I can get out of you, and then thank you. I'll talk to you later. You come from a standpoint of, hey, I want to share with you what I'm doing. I also want to know about what you're doing because maybe I know someone that can help you. And then also, I want to know what you're looking for to see how I can add value. When you come from that standpoint, people, they see that you actually care. You're not coming from a superficial standpoint. You're coming from a standpoint where you really want to get to know these people. You want to develop relationships with them. You want to keep them in the loop of what you have going on in your business. You want to find out what they have going on in their business, because as you're networking, you can become a connector. Like, you can go somewhere and you can, let's say you talk to someone at lunch and they said, well, Martine, my biggest concern is contractors. Like, I have contractors and they don't do what they say they're going to do. I feel like that's one of people's biggest concerns. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They say they're going to be on the job. I go to the job. They're not there. I really just need some good contractors. And then as you have been networking, you can say, hey, actually, I know a dude. And I mean, this is at a point where you may not need this contractor at this moment. So you can say, hey, I've been reaching out and been talking to people, and I know this contractor that, such and such has used them. They've given them good referrals. Maybe I can connect you to. Do you know how happy someone would be if you could tell them that? So, but then you always be intentional. So you always tell people that, look, these are the types of deals I'm raising. You structure what type of opportunities that you want to offer people. So you say, hey, I'm doing these types of deals. Like things are usually about 70,000. I put 30,000 into the property. So I'm all in at 100,000. I know I can sell it at 200,000. I know these are like really, really good numbers, right? But let's just say that, I'm all in at 100,000. I know that it's going to be on the market. The average days on market right now are this. So you're pretty much projecting like what you plan on doing with other things. And then you can say, hey, if you know anyone that may be interested in investing in opportunities like this, I'm offering 8% interest-only payments. So I'm offering 10% interest-only payments for a year or whatever you decide your structure is going to be. This isn't really a podcast that we're going to talk about the different ways to structure your private money. Maybe that can be a part 2 to this podcast. But this episode in particular is kind of getting you to a point where you realize and you're intentional about the things that you're doing because you want to make sure that you just develop great relationships, and you want to and not just develop the great relationship, but also be a person that you know what you're doing. And because you know what you're doing and you've developed these great relationships, then in turn you can put those two together, and you can be able to start acquiring more of the properties that you've been either wholesaling, or maybe you're not investing yet and you're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to do this? Let's talk about the people that maybe you're working a full-time job. Just maybe. Maybe you're working a full-time job still, and you want to invest in real estate, and you're wondering like, well, how am I going to get the money to invest in real estate? Like, I really don't have 20% to put down for the bank, and let's say you wanted to keep something as a rental. But let me make a disclaimer before I say this. Please have some reserves in case things break. So make sure you have some money in your savings in case you need to fix things on a property, because those things will arise all the time. And you're wondering, you're working your job, you're saving money, and you're just like, I don't want to spend all my money putting my down payment down at the bank. How can I buy properties using other people's money? This sounds like a great suggestion, Martine. How can I do this? You need to start being intentional. You need to start going to lunch with people. And it doesn't have to necessarily be people from a real estate networking event. It could be people that you work with. You can let them know, hey, this is what I've been working on. I noticed that other people that, that have been doing similar things to what I'm working on, that they're able to, pay people like 8% interest on their money. So I just wanted to, pretty much plant a seed so that, in case you or anybody you may know may be interested in something like this later on in the future, not right now, but later on in the future, maybe, you can let me know and we can work some deals together. And people either say nah, or they'll be like, yeah. But as you continue to build the relationship is when I guess you can say that's when the secrets unfold as you continue building relationships with these people. And it's going to put you out of your comfort zone. If you're not used to meeting with different people all the time, you might feel a little uncomfortable. You might feel a little intimidated hanging out with people. But from my experience, just from the people that I've hung out with some people that are like pretty big names. They're all just people. They're all just regular people. And as you continue to hang out with them and you continue to talk to folks, build the relationship, you get to a point where you guys want to do business together because you are a person that, they scouted you out. They saw that you're a person of your word. I think that's something else that we need to mention is being a person of integrity. If you say that you're going to do something, come hell and high water, you better do it. Because in this industry, and I mean in a lot of them, but since we're talking about real estate, We'll stick with real estate. In this industry, your reputation is everything. Your word is bond. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you better do that. Just that. And if you have any bumps in the road, you have anything that doesn't go as you plan, you need to be telling people immediately. Like, you don't need to be waiting to the end, trying to sweep it under the rug. Maybe they won't notice, blah, blah, blah. You need to be upfront and honest about things, because sometimes things do happen that we don't want to happen. But you just have to keep the lines of communication clear. So let's just put it like that. Don't have the other person wondering. If you tell somebody you're going to pay them on this day, pay them on that day. Don't say, because you're friends, now you want to see, can they cut you a break? Can you do this? No, you need to be a person of your word. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. So not only like networking at these events, even though these events are great to network at, any like real estate events, I've been going all over the country really to go to different real estate events, so I can meet different people. I can be in different circles. I can, I'm hearing about the things that they're interested in. I'm telling them the things that I'm doing that I'm interested in. If I find somebody that they may be a good person to connect with, I can connect them and things like that. But basically, you don't necessarily have to go to real estate events. I want to say that because when people go to real estate events, they come expecting to network, even though it may feel a little weird, depending on your personality type. But it may feel a little weird going up to people you don't know and you're telling them about all this stuff or whatever. You're getting their contact information. It may be a little weird. But those are the purpose of the events, for you to network, for you to meet people, for you to build relationships, for you to start a foundation of something. But you can just do this with everyday people too. You can just go up to business owners, and see if you can have lunch with them, see what they're looking for, see how you can add value. You can do your coworkers. You can go and talk to, I don't know, somebody that's probably good to talk to. Probably talking to some older people, to be honest, because a lot of them are retired. A lot of them are bored. They want somebody to come talk to them. And then you could just share about what you're doing, listening to what they're up to, and who knows, maybe they'll be one of your lenders if you can give them a good return. So basically, the secret sauce, and it's really not a secret, because you have to actually do the things I'm telling you about. You can't just listen and say, "Ooh, I got it," and think that you're going to get it, because that's not how it works. You got to actually get out here and do the work. But the secret sauce is, first of all, you need to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then, you can build some relationships, but don't bring up the deals just yet, because you need to make sure you know what you're doing first. But first, you need to make sure you know what you're doing. So you did your adequate amount of research. Maybe you've worked on some deals with some people. Maybe you've gotten some things under contract. You've gotten your feet wet, you've talked to some sellers or whatever. So first, know what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing, then it's a good time for you to network, for you to talk to people, letting them know what you do. If you are my friend on Facebook, you'll see that we post something about real estate every single day. I say we because I have people on my team. And actually, someone on my team writes a lot of the stuff that I post on Facebook. But when I see people out and about, they know what I do. Like, it's no guessing, well, what does Martine do? No, they know. And that puts me in a position that when they get to a point where, not necessarily if they want to, lend money for things, but let's say that they want to, they know somebody that they may be in a situation where they need to sell their house fast. They know Martine closes fast because I talk about it all the time. I'm always mentioning it. I want people to know. I don't want you to forget that if you have a house you need to sell fast, you need to call me because I can help you out of that situation. So first, make sure you know what you're doing. Second, I would say go networking. You can get networking events from meetup.com. You can join Toastmasters. There are other, like, they don't necessarily have to be real estate events. They could be, you can go to a self-improvement course or whatever. And you can just network with people. You can go to different, like, commerces, things, different organizations that they have in your city, that they have meetings. I don't know, maybe you want to go to a city council meeting. Just get out there, start talking to people, share contact information and stay in touch. So once you network with people, you get their contact information, and you're not going to be a person that you take their contact information and you never give them a call. You give them a call. You send them a text. You say, thanks, it was great meeting you. Things like that. You're very intentional with what you're doing. I love to take you to lunch sometime. I love to share with you what I'm doing. I like to hear about things that you're doing. Maybe I know someone that, can help you get to the next level or whatever they're looking to do, So just be intentional and then nurture the relationships. Don't just meet with somebody once and say, oh, well, we met. That's it, right? You have to build a relationship. At first, things are going to start off really dry. They're going to be like, you guys don't know each other. You have to get to know each other. So you have to continuously stay in contact, just keep people posted. I've seen people have like newsletters sharing what they're doing with the people that they've been networking with, just so they can have an idea of, everybody around them can have an idea of what they've been doing, and just keep them posted. Just show them that they're really active, that they're still out here, getting deals, looking for stuff. We're still buying real estate, still doing this, still doing that. So I'd say that you being intentional, sharing with people what you're working with, networking, and then when you get to the point where you have a deal on the table and you need the money, then you just present it as an opportunity. You don't present it as, I really need money to get this. Like, you don't present it as like you are in a lack of money. You present it as, look, I'm an expert at what I'm doing. I'm able to turn, whatever you invest into my deal and give you a good rate of interest, a better rate than you probably get anywhere else. And would you like this opportunity to help grow your money? And let them decide. If they don't want it, that's fine. But you present what you're doing as an opportunity, because it is an opportunity. You have a certain skill set at this point. You took the time to learn how to look over these deals and how to make them profitable and all of this stuff. And because of that, now you have a certain skill set that they may not have. They might have it. Like, they may be investors that invest with you. But because you have this skill set, you're presenting them an opportunity to be able to get a good return on their money. And if you present things like that, you keep people posted, you network intentionally, you go to these different networking events, you make sure you maintain those relationships, and you keep people in the know of what you're doing and things like that. Trust and believe, you will start building a network of people that will be eager to join in with you, to do deals with you, because they're happy to have this opportunity. Also, and I think you should go back to the episode that I had with Rashana Scott, because it said, I think it was Show Me the Money was the name of the episode. Anyway, in that episode, we talked about educating people on what they can, how they can lend you money. Because some people might say, well, I don't have any money. Like, it's no money in my bank account. But they don't think about using possibly like a credit card or a line of credit, home equity line of credit, or, using your retirement funds, things like that, because you can leverage those things and get you can get a greater rate of return. Let's say that the bank will let you get a line of credit for 6% or something. And then you lend that money out at 10%. So you're essentially getting 4% of cash flow from however much it was that it wasn't your money. Just think about that. Where else would they get that opportunity? So I think it would be wise for you guys to check out that episode so that you can see different ways to educate people on how they can lend you money. Because basically what you want to do is you want to position yourself as the expert. You want to position yourself as somebody of authority that you know how to make money doing these types of deals. You're showing them that it is secured by, real estate, depending on how you structure the deal, of course. But if they're coming from a lending position, then it'll be secured by real estate. So, in worst case scenario, if the person didn't pay you back, they could take the house. They could foreclose if they wanted to, right? We don't want that to happen, but that may make people feel a little less eerie of lending you money because they know, if you mess up, then I could at least got the house, because everybody know real estate typically goes up for the most part. It does have a fluctuating cycle, but for the most part, it goes up. So them having that security may help, but since you're going to be a person of your word, you're not going to let it get to that. Just pointing that out there. But once you show people how you're building those relationships, you're maintaining those relationships, then when you get to the point where you are ready for the opportunity, then it's time to go. Foot on the gas. You're able to close fast on these properties like the cash buyers that you're sending your deals to, that you're wholesaling your deals to, because they've already developed those relationships, or they may be using, their own money, but leveraging is a way to scale quicker, but just be smart about it. So I hope this podcast was really, really good for you. There is a book that I believe it's called The Art of Raising Private Capital that may be helpful for you. I always like to give different book suggestions for everybody that's listening. So if you're more of, I'm analytical, I want to read the book to figure out some different ways, then you can definitely check that book out. I don't remember who wrote it, to be honest. But just remember, the key ingredient is to keep those relationships going. Do not drop the ball. Make sure that you are continuously meeting with people. You're always talking about what you're doing. You see what they're up to. See how you can help them. I just want to reiterate the big points from this, because you'll get yourself into a really good position by doing this. You got to put in the work. You can't just listen to the podcast and, go on your merry little way. But by doing this, you're going to put yourself in a really good position. Because even if you have some, let's say you have a go-to person, and let's say that at the time they've deployed all of their funds, you've developed all these other relationships that you can reach out to another person. And then eventually you'll get to a point where people will start coming up to you and they're like, look, when are we going to do a deal together? They're like, well, when are we going to do a deal together? And that's a good position to be in. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope it is useful. This is the ABCs of raising private capital. And until next time, see ya. Thanks, guys, for checking out the Do It Movement podcast this week. I hope we inspired you to make some power moves now. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us for more info on our guests and new episodes at DoItMovement Pod on Instagram and at DoItMovementPod.com. Make sure as you apply some of this knowledge, you tag us along the way by adding #DoItMovement so that we can recognize the change makers. See you next week.